Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Interstellar. Acclaimed director Christopher Nolan is back and ambitious as ever with his latest offering to the cinematic world with Interstellar. But does his ambition overtake his directorial foresight to deliver a solid end product? My answer? Yes. But the film is very much a mixed bag of results, so this review is going to be a very much mixed bag of opinions. Let's go ahead and start off with basically the first two acts of the film with our positives. I was fully on board with Interstellar for the first 2/3 of the movie. I thought it was gripping, it was exciting, and it was overall gorgeous to look at. The visuals in this film are fantastic, and at the very least on par with last year's Gravity in relation to a space film. I've also read that the science behind the film was very accurate, and it felt accurate. It was well explained, it was mind-bending, and the theories that were presented to us did seem accurate. These people seemed knowledgeable about what they were speaking on, and it all was very fascinating to learn about and to get to experience in this film format. Now, the characters in the film are also very strong, and again, that's largely due to the acting cast. I thought Matthew McConaughey was perfect for this role. An arrogant, but really deep down emotional explorer that's stuck in a mundane world. And when he was asked to deliver the emotional scenes, I thought he was wonderful. And those emotional scenes in the film really do reach in and grip your heart when they're delivered. So, Matthew McConaughey I thought was really well cast. He did a great job. I also thought Anne Hathaway delivered a really strong performance. Her character was never the most endearing and written to kind of turn you off as a viewer, but she delivered really well and produced that full-fledged character for us. Michael Caine, I thought, was really strong in his role, and he really went with the twists and turns of his character very well. But really, Jessica Chastain kind of stole the acting show. She was right up there, at least, with Matthew McConaughey. They were on equal footing. And they really are the two halves of the film, and the two halves of all the entire equation that we're watching. And she had what I deemed an underwritten role. It was underdeveloped by the writers, by the directors, and she brought so much humanity and so much realism to this role and made her an actual character. I also thought the young girl who played the young Murph was fantastic as well. She really delivered on the emotional scenes that she was asked to bring to this child character. But Jessica Chastain was just really fantastic. She brought small nuances that really conveyed emotion without doing Oscar baity, over-crying type things. So I just thought she was really, really strong in her role. Her brother was played by Casey Affleck. He was just kind of there. And we're also given a cameo that I'm not going to spoil for you. A pretty small role. It's a bit larger than a cameo. That I didn't know was in the film, but I thought was a bit miscast and a kind of meh character overall. It turned into a bit of a distraction for me. But outside of that cameo, the acting was really rock solid, and we were given emotional center thanks to the acting cast and the really strong characters that they were able to bring to life on the screen. Again, I really loved the world building and the visuals. I thought this really bleak Earth that was presented to us was really fascinating and really resonated true with me. It's just kind of a glimpse into the future of what could happen to us if we don't change some of our ways. So it brought a definite realism to the movie that this may be an issue that we could face in 100 years' time or so. And that always makes the stakes a little bit higher for you as a viewer. If you think, maybe this could be a possibility, maybe we should further explore space exploration itself and not be totally giving up on things such as the NASA program. And again, I know Christopher Nolan is just kind of obsessed, tunnel vision, on screwing with the viewer's mind, but for the most part it really worked, but only in the first 2/3 of the movie. These theories about relativity and time and gravity, and then of course emotions and love, really were so interesting, and they thought-provoking and had you thinking, and just really invested in what the story was trying to tell you. And the way they played with time, much like Inception, was great. And it really added height to the stakes that the characters were experiencing, and built anticipation and built excitement within the audience. So I just loved these theories. However, this is where we jump into the negatives, because Christopher Nolan was just so tunnel vision on thinking, how can I blow people's minds and bend their reality so far they don't even know what's real and what's not anymore, that he just totally went off the rails in the final third of the movie. I can't really talk about it too much without giving spoilers, but it just becomes some convoluted mess that really doesn't make sense. We went from theories that seemed realistic and that we were able to understand and follow, into complete science fiction that was just completely made up. Like, nobody knows what it was that we experienced in this final third. There's no way to know in actual science what happens. And he just made up this weird theory that didn't make any sense, was completely hard to follow, and just kind of was total fictionary nonsense, if I'm being honest. It's so frustrating to me to see a movie that builds up this great premise and paces itself so well for the majority of the time and is so fantastic, just completely unravel in the final act of the movie. And that really is what Interstellar does. This is where I think Christopher Nolan's large ambitions completely overshadow his foresight to deliver a full, complete product. And it is really disappointing. And the last act of the film just left me completely uninspired and knocked the movie completely down in grade. Another problem I had with the movie was the sound editing and sound mixing. Hans Zimmer, of course, we all know he loves to work with Christopher Nolan. He delivers a really good score. Like, the score is fantastic, and it does catch your ear because it is really beautiful. It goes with what it is we're seeing, but it just overpowered everything so often. And the problem wasn't the score, and wasn't what the score meant to emote in the viewer. It was how it was directed and the editing decisions made. Sometimes you would have blasts of loud crescendos when there was nothing going on, and those were great because it helped add to the effect of grand planets or this space odyssey. And then you would have these huge, loud bursts over emotional moments. So characters would be trying to speak to each other, and the music was so loud you couldn't even hear the dialogue, and then you were kind of lost for a minute or so after trying to catch up to what was just said in this conversation. And that's just such a mistake, and such a small mistake, to not just mute the music down so that we could understand what was happening in the story. And it happened several times throughout the film. And even when it wasn't the music, a lot of times the communication was just so hard to understand. Now, I understand doing that if it feels organic. So if something is happening within the film that would be extremely loud and make it hard for you to understand people speaking, that feels organic, that feels natural, and it adds to the cinematic experience. But when it is completely unorganic material being thrown in that overshadows dialogue, that help develop the characters, develop the story, and develop our attachment to what's happening, it's a complete misstep. And it just happens so much throughout the film. One thing the sound mixing did very well was a complete void of noise. I think Gravity did this a little bit better actually, but when it was utilized here, it was so fantastic. When you're just out there in space and there's just a void of noise. So it's not silence. I think there's some sort of difference between a silence and the complete void of noise that I can't really explain it, but it just feels more natural to the space experience. And they only did it like twice throughout the movie, and when they did it, it was beautiful and wonderful. It just lasted too little, too short. And finally, my last thing was just small attention to little details throughout the movie that kept pulling me out. Small spoilers here, vague spoilers, they're not going to ruin any sort of plot. As I said before, this movie does delve into time differences and, you know, the theory of how time works in different planets or universes or whatever the case might be. So one of the things was that Earth time compared to space-time was not the same. So people on Earth were aging at a different rate than the people that were out in space. So while we saw everybody else aging and, you know, going about their business and looking different, we saw Murph, the character, go from a small girl to Jessica Chastain. Michael Caine looked exactly the same from the moment we see his character to the end of the film. He never changed in appearance, and I was just like, really? For one, he was old enough to begin with, and then the fact that he just doesn't age at all, like he doesn't look any different ever, just really jarred me, because everybody else around him was aging while he just stood still in time. Why not just age him up even slightly? Another thing, it happens at a various point, I'm not going to spoil, but somebody passes out from like the pressure that's happening within the cabin, so to speak. They pass out. You see them do this. And then in the very next shot, they're alert and down like this. So, to me, I'm just like, how did you go from like floating up in the air, and while we're still in this pressurized situation, suddenly you gain consciousness back, you're high alert, you're It's like, doesn't quite seem realistic, in my opinion. Who knows? I've never been floating in space, so I guess I can't really attest to what it would be like, but I don't think that's how it would really work. I also thought the robot designs were kind of weird. They got cooler as it went along, but watching them like walk, they were super funny, by the way, the robots. I really loved them. But the way they walked and moved and their just design was so clunky and ugly, I was like, ugh, not appealing at all. But they were funny, they were good characters for being robots as well. So, overall, would I recommend Interstellar? I say yes. It's definitely a movie that is an experience, and it leaves you thinking and wanting to discuss. It evokes reaction out of you, whether it's positive or negative, and I think that's what film is supposed to do. You need to have some sort of reaction leaving the theater, and Interstellar definitely accomplishes it. And I also say this needs to be seen in the theater. It's just so wonderful, the visuals are so fantastic, and the scope of the film is so large that the theater experience is essential in the proper viewing of Interstellar. So I definitely recommend it. Go out and see it, especially if you're curious about it at all. While I don't think it was a great film, necessarily, because of that last act just completely unraveled it for me, it's a good film, and it is definitely a cinematic experience that I don't think should be missed while it's in theaters. So, that has been my review of Interstellar. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, go ahead and click like down below, and subscribe to the channel while you're at it so you're always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!